And welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We're going to do Pop Culture Thursday again. I don't know if we did it last week. I think we kind of skipped over it because we were on a roll there for like a week or two in a row. We did some pop culture stuff. I don't think we did it.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
It was a long time.
So
last Thursday, I was focused in Dallas Cowboy opening.
That's probably why why we didn't do it.
Did I mention offensive pass interference?
Oh my gosh, we got to move on.
That was a week ago. It was a week ago today.
The best part about football is now you're going to play another game, and we can forget that ever happened.
But each week we're going to be one win lower than we should be because we got screwed.
We have an interesting story about a girl that's missing.
Did you just shrink yourself?
I did. Yeah, I just lowered myself so I had a little better view here of my screen.
Do you mess with your chair height?
I don't. Go ahead. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, no, I just never, because I've never, like, you're the only one that ever sits in that chair.
Correct.
You can tell when someone else sat in your chair because they lowered it or they locked it or whatever. Once I get it set, I never touch it.
With this chair, I either have it all the way up or all the way down. There is no like middle adjustment, so I'm much more willing to mess with it.
So you do, okay.
Much more, like my car seat, I don't, like I'm so, like when my girlfriend drives my Jeep
you
seat,
get in and you're like, somebody moved my seat.
And it's not that I have no issue with them moving it. It's that I will never, it takes me forever to get back to
perfect?
To just get it back to where it goes.
No, I just, like if I plop down in a chair, because my son does it to one of the desk chairs at home when he and I'll just be like, he was in the chair. And then I got to figure out how to raise it again. And it's just so.
This one's different, though. It only has two settings. It's either up or down. So I'm much more willing to pull the lever on it.
All right.
We're going to talk about.
So you were asking how I'm doing today. Let me tell you how I'm doing.
I actually haven't yet.
Oh,
I didn't even get to introduce.
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't even get to introduce the topics of the show.
I have an
today.
answer.
I can tell. We're going to talk about a girl who's missing. A really interesting story, how people are using her social media to try to kind of grasp what might have happened. And then there's this whole side of the girlfriend versus the boyfriend. So it involves social media, it involves relationships. We thought it would work for pop culture as well. Really neat. A Facebook study about the detriment of Instagram. I think that'll be interesting to talk about. Should cornhole be an Olympic sport? The commissioner of the Cornhole League believes it should be. We're also going to talk about Norm Macdonald and remembering him as well. And then last but not least, I am going to reveal to you, it came out today, I'm going to reveal to you the top 10 songs ever on the Rolling Stones Greatest 500 list. You do not know that.
Well, let me just, because we talked about the previous list, which was 03 or 04.
03, they updated it in 2010, so they haven't done an actual list.
They haven't done it in a decade.
Yes.
And we were talking about, we're going through the old list, and I'm like, all right, give me the 10 of the new list. Yeah. And you're like, I'm not telling you. We're waiting live. So I am in the dark. I'm in the light because we got to turn the overhead lights on today. But figuratively, I'm in the dark.
Let's get this straight. The lights have been on way more for you the last 2 weeks than I've been able to have the lamps on. This is not fair. That's not
it is not balanced.
So I'm fine with, so you can make fun of me and make me feel bad when it's a true statement, but that's not a true statement. You've been very blessed with the lights.
No, I just said the lights are on today, which is a true statement.
How are you feeling?
Well, let me tell you how I'm feeling.
Okay.
I got one of the first things I see on Facebook this morning. One of my college roommates who was soccer player, tennis player. Okay. So when you hear soccer player, unless you're the goalkeeper, soccer players are in shape. Okay. There's no two ways around it. He is a triathlete now. Okay. And I'm 49 and he is essentially, so he has to be 49. Okay. Or he's going to be 49 tomorrow. Like he just qualified for some national triathlon, and it's an Ironman, like it's the Ironman series. Yeah. And you're just like, I haven't even got out of bed yet, and I feel like lazy loser that like.
So I dated somebody who actually went to nationals, like for triathlon. Like she is a triathlete.
She's a triathlete.
Like, and I mean that like in the sincere, like she had a sponsor, like she was very, very good. And she went to, I believe it's in Omaha, is like nationals. Like she qualified, you go to nationals. Like it's like a real big, big thing. They are some of the most, like obviously they are determined, but there is like I don't even know the word. They are so willing to do the things that you don't want to do, and then they do it again. because it's not just like you go and work out for an hour. Like after you bike for an hour, you got to go to the pool. And after you pool for an hour, you got to run. And they're just, think about what you're willing to do and just multiply it by 10. Well, they're fascinating people.
There's a relentlessness to it that most people don't have. But it said 70 point whatever. And I'm guessing that's how far, because I know the Ironman in Hawaii is 120. It's something, you run a marathon, you bike 112 miles, I think. You swim 2 and whatever. So I'm guessing that this one is a total of 72 miles.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, forget about swimming, which is exhausting. Forget about running, which is also, day in the park.
Sure.
How much would I have to train before I could ride my bike 70 miles? Now, the bike portion wouldn't be 70. Say they were swimming a mile and running 10. So the bike portion is 60.
Sure.
60 miles is like State College from here.
No, it's incredible what they pull off.
Just to ride your bike.
Have you ever
forget about swimming and running?
Have you ever been to one?
No.
Okay. This is the craziest part about it is the 2 that I went to, they do the swimming first.
Yes.
Which is, I understand why they do it, but if I had to pick the order in which I wanted to do those things, I don't know if swimming is the one I would want. I mean, they do it for safety reasons.
So people don't die.
Yes, and I get that part.
Yep. He went under. He's not coming back up.
Yeah. So
could you see the scuba dudes? Just like, there's another one. Maybe we shouldn't have them run first.
It's insane. But if you were telling me like the order, like I would not want to be like wet and have to change. And now I got to get on this bike.
They don't even change. They just hop on.
Some change. Some change because you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, I guess, but not. I mean,
not all of them.
No,
I know.
If you want to win,
crazy. If you want to win, it is nuts. So shout out to all the triathletes. So the point is that you're feeling
lazy.
Lazy. Okay, there you go.
No, actually, I don't. You know how I feel? I feel sane.
Well,
because I read this and I'm like, I sent him out. I'm like, dude, you're nuts.
It all depends on what your passion and your purpose is. Because like I'm the idiot watching game film till 3 a.m. And so, like, the same triathlete...
You know what's not...
So the same triathlete's probably looking at me like, you're insane. Like, how do you stare at that screen for 4? So it all just depends what your thing is.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Did I ever tell you this, Colin? And I'll let you go. Colin Coward, who you know Colin Coward from, he used to be on ESPN Radio. His first wife was a competitive triathlete.
Okay.
And he said... so I go to the race or whatever, and he's telling the story on the radio.
Right.
And he's like, so I'm the idiot asking all the stupid questions that because I have no idea.
Sure.
So I'm like, so what happens, like, when you have to go to the bathroom? And she's like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, he goes, we're running through some town. We don't just go up to some neighbor's house and knock on the door.
Right.
He's like, so you're just like peeing down your leg?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, she's like, well, what do you think marathon runners do? Like, what are you supposed to do?
Oh, yeah.
We can't stop.
Yeah.
So he says, so he closes his session. He goes, so whenever you're watching like a cycling race and you look and you see and you say, oh, that girl's cute, just remind yourself that she's been peeing on the seat for the last hour.
I remember the first half marathon I ever ran was the...
Wait. You ran a half marathon?
I did, yes.
And you say the first one, so there's been multiple.
The first one. I've been in 2. After this was my second one, I did the Brotherly Love Run in Philadelphia, which was great. Not a great experience personally, but the experience itself of like a half marathon is I would argue it has to be one of the better ones on the East Coast. Because you're running through the city of, it's not like you're on the outskirts.
Right.
You're literally running through downtown Philadelphia. It's really cool. So, but I remember like my first time like running through and everything. And I would just kind of see like people's legs were wet. And it took me probably like 3 miles for it to dawn on me like, oh, people are just going. Like, they're just like, it just doesn't, you don't really have a choice in the matter. And it is what it is. And that's what you do. But I had never seen that before until
you know what else you could do through the streets of Philadelphia?
What?
Naked bike ride.
You can naked bike ride. The other
only once a year.
The other one too, if you've never participated in the actual Mummers Parade in Philadelphia on New Year's Day, it is out of this world.
You know what else it is?
What?
Cold.
It depends. It depends on the year, for sure. if you hit it right, you can hit the Mummers Day parade on like a 50-degree day. Like,
on New Year's Day?
Yeah, if you hit it right. You think every year it's 30 degrees in Philadelphia on New Year's?
Everyone.
No, you got it wrong.
All right. Sorry, I got us sidetracked.
No, you're not. You're not sorry at all. Here's the story about a girl missing. Her name is Gabby Petito. She was reported missing by her mother on Saturday, September 11th. She went on a trip with her boyfriend, Brian. I'm going to pronounce it Laundrie. It's Laundrie. So I'm going to pronounce it Laundrie. The boyfriend has now been named a person of interest in the case. He wasn't originally. So Nicole Smith is the girl's mother. She reported it to the police on September 11th. And she said the last time she had heard from Gabby was August 24th during a FaceTime call. And that last location was the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Petito and Laundrie, her boyfriend, embarked on a cross-country road trip that started on July 2nd. And they were regularly posting about their van life journey on Instagram. They launched a YouTube channel on August 19th dedicated to their journey and posted just one video before Gabby disappeared. So here's where it kind of gets crazy because I'm going to go through it. You can go to her Instagram page. Like, it's a live account. You can actually go to her Instagram page and you can kind of like track her location and where she was. But not only that, you can kind of track her mood, like how she was feeling about the trip, how she was feeling about the relationship. So they're actually using her social media account to try to determine and figure out what had happened. She posted the one video on YouTube. That was the end of it. Police in Utah said that during the trip, they responded to an incident involving Petito and her boyfriend sometime before she was reported missing. The details have not been released yet. There was insufficient evidence to justify criminal charges at the time when those police showed up during the trip. It was called a mental health incident. That is all the details from the insider report. The last thing I want to say before you dive into this, the boyfriend, and I want to make sure I get the details of this right, the boyfriend returned home to Florida. So Brian Laundrie returned to Florida home where he and Petito had been living with his parents on September 1st, 10 days before she was reported missing. He has since retained a lawyer and is not cooperating with investigators.
So let's just cliff notes this. They go on a across the country trip that they are posting to social media and even one episode to YouTube.
Yes.
He then returns home without her. He will not cooperate with the police, or not the investigators, so it's the police.
Correct.
He will not speak to the police, and he has retained an attorney. You wonder why he's a person of interest. Because he killed her.
You're just dead set.
Like what give me another explanation.
I don't know. Like when you say give you another explanation, there's so disappearing nowadays. That's like the neat part. That's the interesting part about this is like you have somebody with social media, and there are people who post on social media every day. Well, you and I, like, people could trace you and I. Like, they know where you and, like, if someone got onto NorthcentralPa.com, they would be able to say, well, Jeff was at his parents this day because he did the show from, and so, like, you and I don't even think about that. But, like, there are people who do it hourly. And so the idea that somebody like that, who on their Instagram is posting their trip and going along, and then they create a YouTube channel, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, they disappear. It's just like people just don't disappear as often as they used to. And they don't because it's so easy to track you.
It's not like they used to.
No, they don't. I don't
mean to make light of it.
No, but that's the insane part about this is like you have this trail of everything this person did for 2 months. And now all of a sudden it's like she's just gone.
Well, it's the conspiracy theorist could say that she wanted to disappear. And that she wanted the common sense person would say she obviously loves social media. Mm-hmm. If she's tracking the trip, if they've created a YouTube channel to do it, and then there are people who can go off the grid. There are people who want to go off the grid.
Do you think
she gives no indication that she didn't love the grid?
Well, not to be correct and not to be rude, I'm guessing that a 22-year-old blogger, Instagrammer is not the type of person trying to disappear in Teton National. I could be wrong. Like
that's what common sense would tell.
But I am guessing that here's a small sidetrack. Instagrammer has 2 M's, and I don't understand where the second M comes from.
You got me.
Right?
Did I tell you this?
Does it pertain to this?
Kind of.
Okay.
Did we had the debate of if you hear thunder, it's thundering. If you hear lightning, is it lightninging?
No, lightning is not a verb.
Thunder's a noun.
Thunder is a result. Lightning is a result of thunder.
Well, whatever.
Or is lightning? Well, which
thunder is a result of lightning?
Thunder is a result of lightning, or is lightning a result of thunder?
No, because the lightning heats up the air molecules, and the air molecules expand. But be that as it may, if you're outside and you hear thunder, you say it's thundering.
Okay.
If you're outside and you see lightning, can you say it's lightninging?
No, it's not a verb.
Well, I've been asking this for, I think one of my kids actually looked it up. The real word is, it should be lightninging.
Okay.
Because if it's thundering,
no, it's not.
It should be lightninging.
I disagree. It's not a verb. So what is the actual word?
It's lightning.
Yeah.
It's lightning. If you're outside and you see flashes of lightning, you say it's lightning.
That makes more sense.
But it's not. It should be lightninging. But anyway, Instagram or 2 M's. We're back to the missing girl.
So that's it. So right now you can, like I said, you yourself can go to the Instagram page. You can follow her track. Insider put up this really interesting, like they actually like mapped it out like on a graphic, and like you can actually trace her and follow her whereabouts. But it's almost, I reflect on the movie Gone Girl, the book. I actually read the book Gone Girl. I actually read something. I read Gone Girl, the movie. Obviously, people enjoyed with your lover Ben Affleck.
First of all, don't just because you're in love with both Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds, don't throw the Ben Affleck thing on me.
And there is a really neat show on Hulu right now with Selena Gomez, Martin Short, and Steve Martin. And it is called Murders Only in the Building. And the whole show is based around this premise of those 3 people trying to solve a murder in their building, and they create a podcast. And so, like, to me, this is like the real life. Like, there are people right now, like, literally dissecting her Instagram and her blog and trying to track where she was. And so
this is
almost
what we know.
What?
They were way out west.
Yes.
She is disappeared.
Yeah.
She has disappeared. He went all the way to Florida, got home, and was home 10 days before anyone reported her missing.
Yeah.
Tell me how he's a good human being.
Oh, listen, I can't explain to you his mindset or the fact that he was a good human being. I would say if you and I were his defendants, right? Like, let's say he hired us and we're trying to.
He's in trouble.
Because
I would look at the judge and be like,
yeah, no, he is in trouble. I would say if you and I worked for him and we were trying to make a defense or trying to figure it out, I would say, like, if there was a dispute, it would have taken him X amount of days to come home. And then by the time he gets home, at that point, like, if they've gone their separate ways, he's going to say, well, she's not my responsibility. Like, I don't know. Like, she's 22. I don't know what she's doing. We had a fight. We broke up. Whatever. She wanted nothing to do with me. I packed up my crap and left. So you figure from Wyoming.
You missed your calling.
I don't know about that. So you figure from Wyoming to Florida. And again, this is just me reading the insider report. I don't know the whole, I don't know what Brian Laundrie was doing during that time. But I would imagine it took
coming up with an alibi?
Might have been. I mean, it's a long trip. I'm sure you could come up with a couple. So you figure the trip there, by the time the mom says, like, where is she? She calls the police, everything else. Now he's looking around and going, well, crap, like, I haven't talked to her in 10, 14 days. I don't want to talk to the police. Like, I clearly look guilty. So I don't know. My heart of hearts is saying, like, he is probably guilty of whether it's abandonment, whether it's like causal something. Obviously, murder makes the list as well. But until they find a body, we won't know exactly what happened. That's just dead or alive. We won't really have an idea of it. I think the first thing when you read that is you immediately go to murder. but I think it could be something even deeper.
He might have just left her.
He might have just left her. She might have left him. There's just so many. You just don't know.
This is the thing, though, and that's a thought. She might have left him, but why wouldn't he cooperate with the investigators?
Oh, I think not so much would you cooperate with investigators. I think it's the idea of right away you are the number one target. It's you and I talk about this a lot of times. When you want to cooperate with somebody, the first thing you do can't be point the finger. And so if you're the mother and you're the investigator and everything else, the finger's already been pointed, metaphorically, figuratively. It's already, this kid knows, I am numero uno prospect. It's not even a question.
But if he did nothing wrong,
it doesn't. But people don't.
Wouldn't you come out? And it's like you always say in these in the movies or with your friends or whatever when they come home. If you get home late and your wife's like, "Where were you?"
Yeah.
And you have a good explanation. Oh, I was at Jeff's house. The game went triple overtime, and she can pull up and be like, "Oh yeah, the game did go triple. I didn't realize that. Okay, so this is where you were." Or you can come home and say, well, it's none of your business. Why do you ask? Why didn't you try? If you have a good excuse, you give it. The game went triple overtime. The car broke down. Here's the thing. Here's the bill from the towing company.
I understand.
Or you could, this is why I text. But if you're just don't question me, you look very guilty. Yes. He looks very guilty.
I agree with you. He looks very guilty. But what I would say is sometimes the truth, you didn't do anything wrong, but you don't have a good answer either. If he walks in there and he says yeah, we got in a huge fight and I packed up my crap and left, not a great answer. It's the truth, but it's not a good answer. So it's not the truth would necessarily be. Now listen, I'm playing devil's advocate because you
make a valid point.
I lean towards you that he is probably guilty of something. I don't know if it's murder, but he's probably guilty of something.
We're agreeing on that.
There is a scenario here. The timing allows for there's a scenario here where they have a dispute, they go their separate ways, and he doesn't realize what's happening until September 10th. There is a scenario where that's very real.
The reason that didn't happen is because she didn't contact her mother again. She didn't put anything on social media again. And if that was the truth, and you're listen, we got in a fight. Said I was a pain. I said she was a B word, and we went our separate ways, and I haven't seen her since. Then that's what you'd say,
I guess. It just doesn't sound great. I just don't know.
You know what sounds worse?
I don't know.
Nothing. The sound of silence.
You know what legally sounds better? The sound of silence.
I think he's getting bad legal.
If you have a bad, even if it's truthful, if you have a bad answer, silence isn't the worst.
I think we broke up and went our separate ways isn't a bad answer.
It's not.
I think I pushed her off a cliff.
It's not a good one.
It's not. How many times in your life have you broken up and gone your separate ways?
A lot.
Okay, why is that a bad answer?
Because the immediate reaction there is somebody was unhappy, somebody was mad at the other person.
Everyone's unhappy. That's how breakups are.
Exactly. That you are literally answering the question for me. Why is that a bad answer? Because you're basically saying that at the state of the time, I was unhappy. And you know who murders people? You know who does bad things? Unhappy people.
But this many percent of people who break up murder the other person. If all he says is we broke up, I went this way, she went that way, that's one thing. Now, if he's we broke up and I drove away while she was stuck on the top of the Grand Tetons.
You're right. He probably killed her. Facebook's own internal findings.
I agree. I think he probably did kill her.
Multiple sources. Facebook's own internal findings shows Instagram is detrimental to the health of younger people, especially females. The story that I had read, it didn't release actual data of this, but it's this idea. It's like when smoking companies found out that smoking causes cancer. It's like when food companies, internal data discovers that it's causing obesity or it's causing diabetes. This is very similar to that. And it will be interesting to see what Facebook does, if anything.
Well, when I read that, and Facebook's own internal findings show Instagram is detrimental to the health of younger people, especially females. You know what my response to that is? No kidding.
Yeah.
It is.
They've flirted with the idea of getting rid of the like or the heart. Do you remember that?
No.
3-4 years ago, they were having discussions about whether or not Instagram should just be it's just, I don't want to call it like art, but it's just the idea of like, you're just on there to look at photos and getting rid of the likes and the comments and just like, here it is, enjoy it. That's it. Because of that. And I'm pretty sure the big discussion around it was that thing, the idea of like affecting the youth and the mood and like everything else.
I think as I look through, and of course I'm old, and when you see, and I'm on Instagram so rarely. Every now and then it's been like a month. I was like, oh, I should post a picture. But like, I don't know, you get to the ones that you just kind of scroll randomly through, and there's just so many of these like teenage girls, as they say, that you just want to sit down with and say, I hope you have a goal in life beyond being pretty. And when you wake up today, other than taking a good selfie that you can post on social media and everyone can tell you how beautiful you are, then what's next? What is beyond that? That is the psychology of, because there are some that you go through and you just see it over and over and over. It's the prettiest they could look today. It's the prettiest they could look. There's never any pictures that are anything other than, you can tell they took 20 of them and took 15 minutes to search through and see which one was the best. There's never any when they look like a bum, where they're dirty working in the garage, where there's anything else. It is, and that's the thing. Like your whole persona is pretty.
Correct.
What do you get beyond that? Beyond pretty, what are you?
Well, okay, but I could say the same thing about like their athletes or musicians or stuff like that. Like you go through some of the athletes thing, and all it is just them doing that sport. And so my question to them would be like, have you read something lately? Like, when's the last time you like enjoyed your family? Like, when's the last time? So like, it's all relative depending on which profile and which account you're looking at. So I agree with you. I think it exceeds young girls. Like I think it probably crosses boundaries into different professions, into different genders, I think everybody, if you look through their thing, there's very few people that are well-rounded if you're just taking the persona of their profile.
And I get what you're saying about like an athlete, but I think the difference would be, at least they're working, at least they're striving, at least they're looking to achieve.
Some of these Instagram girls are making great money.
I don't disagree with that. Right. I get it. You know, I'll leave it at that.
No, I understand. So this is the part of it that I thought about is when I first, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, really before COVID, when I would scroll through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, I very rarely liked something. Like I would go months without I would just see what was going on, see what people posted, but I never like engaged or interacted. It just wasn't like in my psyche to do it. But what I've realized since COVID and even since starting like doing this with you is like, it can make a huge difference in someone's life. And so I think the question now becomes, should it? Because I now almost feel like as a citizen, like culturally, I almost feel a moral responsibility that like when I see something, I should try to appreciate it so the other person knows like I saw it, or the other person knows I supported it, or that I gave a rip, rather than just swipe, right, and like not interacting. So the question to me now becomes like, should that be like a moral responsibility? Because I don't think the argument anymore should it matter? It does. Like it very clearly, how many likes someone gets, how much engagement they get, like the support they get on their social media, it very clearly affects all generations, especially younger ones. So now like, I almost feel a more obligation to like make sure I do like this thing.
No, that's a valid point. And the more I think about what you're saying, I get we should encourage everyone to have like depth and to kind of get the bigger picture of life.
Right.
And you're right. If just because you can shoot a basketball better than everyone else, or you can hit a golf ball better than everyone else, like there's more to life than that.
Do you know what LeBron James's best marketing play was like when COVID was first starting?
His best marketing? No.
He did the Taco Tuesday, and people loved it. Did you say every Tuesday he'd sit down with his kids and his wife and they would have tacos. And he'd get out his phone and they'd do this thing where every kid had to be like Taco Tuesday and like scream and yell. And people went crazy. Like people loved it. And I think it's just that idea of like, it wasn't him playing basketball. It wasn't him commenting about basketball. It wasn't him. Like, it was just like, here's a dad having tacos with his family. And people like loved it.
See, I think now we've spun to LeBron. One of the things that I think is endearing about LeBron James is, well, number one, he is married to the mother of his kids.
Sure.
Like he does not have, he's not, what did DMX have 14 kids to 10 women, something like, you know. Mm-hmm. LeBron, I'm sure, could have kids to women all over the world. And he, but the other aspect is there for his superhuman greatness, there is a human failure level. The final series against the Mavericks, he was awful. Mm-hmm. And that we never saw Jordan be awful. And I think there is a human level to it. Like I remember, who was the one that joked about, they kept showing LeBron through his career, and one of the guys said, is this a commercial for male pattern baldness? Because his hairline kept going back and back, whereas Jordan just kind of just shaved it and went bald right away. And I do think for as great as he is, there is a fallibility level. And, you know, I think it's different than with Tiger. Tiger obviously has his fallibility level, but Tiger's comes with a less humane and a more arrogant. He's just more stoic. And his was, I don't know, just more destructive. But I think LeBron is incredibly lovable. Like Michael Jordan's talent and Kobe Bryant's talent, but as a human being, LeBron comes off way warmer than Jordan and Kobe ever did.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. And I never saw Taco Tuesday.
No, you need to see Taco Tuesday.
But I think, too, it like his ability, because that could flop. Sure. And people could be like, what the hell he did? Hey, Taco Tuesday. But he's like, hey, it's a lark. Like, let's have fun with this. Yeah. And I think that's a level. So, yeah.
I'm with you. Should cornhole be an Olympic sport?
This is what I would say to corn. Whether it's an Olympic sport or not, I don't know. But as we've talked lately about Olympic swimming and the Little League World Series, because everybody knows cornhole. Yes. And everybody plays cornhole. Whether you suck or not, it is impossible not to pick up the bag and start throwing it.
Right.
It would be such a TV viewing easy. The only question would be, those guys would be so good, would it be boring? Because it's just like when we play and you get in the hole, like we just trying to hit the board.
Sure.
And in the hole is like, yeah, you're giving high fives. These guys are just throwing it like it's their job.
I think and it's already happened, like if you ever watch one of these pro tournaments, I think what you'll see is like there is a level of defense that just isn't even, like they think about defense in cornhole and you and I don't even contemplate defense. And so if you watch some of these guys, like they're blocking the hole. Like if you toss first, they'll purposely leave the first bag right on the front end of the hole. Almost as if to dare the other person to say, like, go ahead and try to hole it because you're going to knock mine in. So there's all these different strategies, and there's a defensive.
So you mean they don't just pump them in?
Mm-mm. If you're the first shooter,
right,
they will try to leave the first one on the lip of the hole, and what they'll do is they will basically dare the other person, saying, go ahead and make it, but if you do, mine's going in too. And so they'll try to do that. And then on the last one, they'll hole it and knock theirs in case the other one's left any on the board. There's a whole strategy to
See,
this.
now that I never thought
yes.
of. Now that's a little better.
Yes.
Because I thought it was just like, you make it and I make it, you make it. Because I'm guessing the Olympic level guys are just, their percentages through the roof.
It's ridiculous. Here would be my number one question for Olympic sport. And this may be naive of me. Who are we going to play?
Anybody.
But like, who else? Like, are they playing cornhole in Germany?
Well,
like,
I don't know, but
playing cornhole in China?
It's cheap. That's why soccer is the world sport, because all you need is something to kick.
Yes.
It is a cheap.
Do you think they're playing cornhole around the world?
I bet they are.
You think so?
I would think.
I don't know. That's why like the point I'm making.
I don't know either, I
think it's very American of us to just assume everybody else is fascinated with cornhole.
I just think it's so easy and so fun and so addicting, and my chair got locked. Mm-hmm. How did that happen? I don't. There we go. That is a guess. But I didn't know there was defense involved. The next question is, do they have rounds in cornhole where, like, after each round you have to drink? And then, because that would make it more.
At the Olympic level, they probably don't, but I'm sure.
Because at, like, the river lot, I think that's how they do it.
I'm sure at tournament level, I'm sure there are some that do it that way.
I got a funny river lot story. And we were playing this big tournament. It was, whatever. And they just drew random names out of the hat. And the one kid who's now, he was probably 14 at the time, but he was really good. Yeah. And he got paired up with a guy that was really good. And they're just crushing their way through. Well, all his friends were eliminated.
Right.
So he's like in the semifinals with all these old people, and all his friends are down the river. And you could tell he didn't want to play anymore. Right. But his friends are like, come on, we're going to win. We're going to win. And he's just like, I want to get out of here. Right. So, the unluck of the draw. But anyway, be that as it may.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to touch on this. Norm Macdonald passed away after a long battle with cancer. I am a stand-up comedy fan. We don't talk about stand-up comedy very often. So I'm going to assume like you like it, but you're not like a die.
All I know is there's a horse loose in the hospital.
In the hospital. Okay. Norm Macdonald was somebody, and obviously I'm younger. So a lot of the stuff that I watched him was me catching up. But I remember when I first started diving in, and I told you my Robin Williams story in Las Vegas and all that. Norm Macdonald was one of the first people I'd watched. And I was telling you earlier, I wouldn't compare Norm Macdonald to like a Robin Williams or a George Carlin. But when I was first diving into it, there were certain people that you would watch and be like, oh, they're good, or like, oh, they're great, and different levels. But there was select few where you watched it and you were like, I've never seen this before. Like, I don't really know what this is, but 13-year-old me is like, I know this is different and it's unique and it's really good. And I had that feeling when I watched Robin Williams. I had that feeling the first time I watched Carlin. And I remember the first time I watched Norm Macdonald, I was like, I'm not sure what this is exactly. And I know there are parts of this that I'm missing. But I remember walking away thinking like that was so different and he is so unique. And it was just fantastic. And so my early on years, Norm Macdonald was very big for me getting up like into stand-up comedy.
Well, I think like guys like Carlin was just the material. Mm-hmm. And the time, and Carlin was one that was very political and just more than just, silly jokes. Yeah. Robin Williams was the energy that went along with the material. Yeah. Norm Macdonald is one of the delivery guys. Yeah. His delivery, like Stephen Wright, is just so different. Right. And he is, I don't know, he's very imitatable, but there's nobody like him.
Right.
So that's what made him, and he had that stoicness to it, but he had a beaming smile, and he was you almost got the feeling that he just didn't take himself too seriously.
No.
That he was just funny.
I remember there was someone, I'm forgetting who said it, but they said you were always in on the joke with him. You didn't know where he was going, but the slight smile and just his appearance, even though you didn't know where he was going, you were buddies and you were along for the ride with him. And that was very Macdonald-ish.
He gave you a buddy feeling to it. Yes, that's very well said.
Very quickly, too, because all this stuff now people are posting and flying around. The two videos that I would recommend, there is a video of him talking to Howard Stern about the perfect joke. And he goes into detail about how he wrote some of his SNL skits and jokes on Weekend Update. Okay. And he talks about how he wrote some of his jokes. And he said the best jokes he ever told were the ones where the punchline was the joke. So he would misread something, and then the kicker was, oh, sorry, it was supposed to be, and it was the same line. Really interesting video watching him talk with Howard Stern about writing these jokes if you want to get into his psyche and his mind. The second one is there's a clip on Conan where he tells the longest joke.
I saw that one.
And it is, if you've ever...
Something about
podiatrist. Moth walks into a podiatrist.
Oh, no. Okay. I didn't hear this one.
All right, so if you go, there's a video, it's like a 3-minute video, and it's him telling the same joke to Conan. And it's about a moth going into a podiatrist and all this stuff. And the punchline is great. The longevity of and it's the perfect, those two jokes, because the first one with Stern is a 3-second joke. And then the other one with Conan is a 3-minute, like, it's the longest joke ever written. And it just shows you, like, it was just brilliant because he says so much in 3 seconds and so little in 3 minutes. And they're both hysterical.
You have to Google youthful porpoise.
Yeah.
Youthful porpoise.
Okay.
And that was on Conan too.
Okay.
And just the reaction of Conan, and who is Conan's buddy on the couch?
I know who you're talking about.
It just the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was not a good joke, but the way they laughed it off is not. It was funny. Yes. Youthful porpoise.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. Here is I'm surprised you've made it this long. I thought you might just keel over if you didn't find out the top 10 songs.
No, I'm good because I know I'm going to be mad because I'm already. Let me just say this.
You think you're going to be mad?
Before we started.
Okay.
Were you reading? Oh, this was from the old list.
This was from the old list. Correct.
So here, we've got this. This was 2010?
2003.
It was the 2003
but they updated it in 2010. So some of them might be shifted in that, but it's the same list.
All right. Well, I Love Rock and Roll was 491.
Okay.
Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll.
Okay.
Welcome to the Jungle.
Okay.
Was 473.
Okay.
I will tell you, there are not 472 songs better than Welcome to the Jungle.
Yes, there is.
You know what? According to Rolling Stone magazine, was better than both Welcome to the Jungle and I Love Rock and Roll?
Okay.
Big Pimpin'.
Yes.
By who?
Jay-Z.
By Jay-Z. Big Pimpin' by Jay-Z is not better than Welcome to the Jungle.
I think the influence and what it had on music, it probably was.
It probably wasn't.
It probably was.
So I know, like, immediately I'm going to be upset with this top 10.
Well, the biggest challenge with this top 10 and why you're going to be so upset, and you're just going to get more curmudgeon-y the older you get, like, people, like, rock and roll was important and it's good, but, like, people try to act as if that is the gospel of music, and rock and roll just wasn't. It's good. It's like any other genre of music.
Except it's not just any other genre.
And this is exactly the point I'm making to you. This is why people like you are going to be miserable as we move into the future. Because you refuse to accept.
Make it sound like I'm not miserable now.
Because you refuse to accept the fact that rock and roll was a genre. Rock and roll was not music. It was a genre of music.
I get that, but it's the best genre.
But you see, exactly.
It changed music.
Exactly.
There's no genre that's ever been better.
I'm not disputing that.
Okay.
I'm not disputing that it didn't. There's other genres that changed music.
Well, I get that, but nobody listens to them, so who cares?
Everyone listens to them. Lots of people listen to them.
Go ahead.
Lots of people listen to them.
Give me the list. Go ahead.
Okay, so real quick, should we give off 2003? It'll only take 30 seconds.
Yeah, give the top.
So here was the original list in 2003. Number 10 was Ray Charles, What I Say.
And you would know, I was like, What I Say? But you would know it as soon as you heard it.
Yes. Number 9 was Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Number 8 was the Beatles, Hey Jude. Number 7 was Chuck Berry, Johnny Be Good. Number 6 was the Beach Boys, Good Vibrations. 5 was Aretha Franklin, Respect. 4 was Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. 3, John Lennon, Imagine. Number 2, the Rolling Stones, Satisfaction. And number 1 was Bob Dylan, Like a Rolling Stone.
Which I say was, again, because it's Rolling Stone magazine, they put Bob Dylan at number 1. Even that is not the best song of all time.
It's very possible.
It's a great list. I mean, it's hard. I never loved Imagine, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I wasn't a hippie generation. I don't. Nirvana, as we talked about, that was the only song that was like beyond the '60s. I think Good Vibrations was even in the '60s with the Beach Boys. And to think that like the best song of the last 50 years is Smells Like Teen Spirit, I would wholeheartedly disagree. But I do understand the historical relevance of that song and what that single song did to music for a decade.
So the original list, a couple of things that we brought up. No Elvis Presley in the top 10.
No Elvis.
No Michael Jackson in the top 10, which surprised both of us. The other part,
no, and to throw this out there, no Led Zeppelin. Stairway to Heaven didn't make it
on the list at all.
Well, in the top 10.
In the top 10, no. The other thing that I told, and you kind of hinted at this, Nirvana was number 9 in 1991. The next year is 1971. John Lennon and Marvin Gaye. So imagine What's Going On. We're in 1971. Okay. Every other song in the top 10 was before 1971. which did surprise me. That shocks me.
And that is what a old radio boss of mine used to call it fogeyism.
Okay.
That like, it's like you sitting around telling that Bill Russell's as good as, Tim Duncan. And I would just say it's because you're old.
Yeah.
But so like the old things are better than the new things, even when they're not. So anyway, go ahead.
So this is the new 2021, came out today by Rolling Stone. They had 250 different artists, producers, writers. They all conglomerated and they came up, and this is the best 500 songs list as.
And they should have asked us, but they didn't.
They did not ask us. Okay. Number 10, the year 2003. It's going to be Outcast, Hey Ya.
Is the 10th best song of all time?
It is. Now, the irony to this is, do you remember the music video?
I think so.
It was basically like a Beatles-esque, and not a mockery, but it was like a Beatles-esque style tribute-ish of the Beatles. So that is number 10.
And hold on, before we even get to number 9, you understand why I'm disappointed.
No, I don't. I think
that's the 10th best song ever.
Hey Ya, for 3 years, you couldn't do anything without.
Dude, you can't go to a sporting
Hey
event
Ya.
now and not hear Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. So number 9, in 1977, Fleetwood Mac, Dreams. Cracks into the top 10.
It's interesting.
Okay. Number 8, and this is the one that's going to blow your mind.
Am I going to get up and walk out?
Yeah, you might actually.
Now I'm realizing why you didn't tell me the list, because I wouldn't have been here to do the show.
Number 8, 2001. And this will probably be the biggest debate you and I will have. Number 8, Missy Elliott, Get Your Freak On.
You'll have to play it for me.
You've never heard it.
Sing it to me.
It's like, Get Your Freak On, Get Your Freak On. You don't remember that at all? You don't remember that at all. This is my only dispute with Missy Elliott being number 8 and Get Your Freak On. The video was way more successful or important than the song itself. The song is catchy, like Sports Arenas played it. It definitely climbed the charts, but the video is what, like at that time in 2001 on MTV, Missy Elliott understood video making and how to get people to want to see the video. So this is, I'm not knocking the people who made the list, but the video was way more valuable than the song. I don't know if it should be top 10 greatest.
I don't mean to cheat here or anything. Is this going to get better, or am I just going to feel worse and worse as we go on?
No, it gets better. I've told you before, some of these songs, so there are songs from the previous top 10. There are new songs that were not in it before, because the value of songs they change.
Well, the voters
just do.
Because I'm sure some of the old curmudgeon-y voters died, and people who have no idea that Good Vibrations even exists.
Sure. So number 7, 1967, The Beatles, Strawberry Fields.
Oh my! Didn't we just have this discussion the other day with someone? The 2 songs of the Beatles that I just don't get are Yellow Submarine.
Yes, I agreed with
Strawberry Fields Forever.
Okay.
I don't understand. There are 50 Beatles songs that are better than Strawberry Fields Forever, let alone songs. There are 50,000 songs that are better than Strawberry Fields Forever.
Okay. So I don't have the same feelings about Strawberry Fields Forever. Probably not top 10 for me. However, Yellow Submarine, I'm with you. Strawberry, I'm not as mad about Strawberry Fields Forever. Okay, that's number 7. Number 6, 1971 is our first repeat. It's Marvin Gaye, What's Going On.
I think I told you this when we were talking before. Smokey Robinson said What's Going On is the best album of all time.
Yeah. And
Smokey Robinson has a little bit of musical clout. Sure. So at some point I will buy it because, and if you, didn't Marvin Gaye also sing Let's Get It On?
Yes.
Isn't that him?
Yep.
Did you ever see the King of Queens episode where they went to the bed and breakfast have you watched King of Queens?
Yes.
And Kevin James and his wife, Leah Remini. I can't think of their names on the show.
That's okay. And Kevin and Doug, but his name's Kevin.
And his friend Deacon.
Okay.
And Deacon's wife.
Okay.
And so Kevin James and Leah Remini are fighting all night. And Deacon and his wife, when they wanted to get in the mood, they played Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. And you could hear it through the walls.
Okay.
So the whole, like, they played it, and then as Kevin James and Leah Remini are fighting hard in there, and then all of a sudden they hear it again, and then they hear it again in the morning, and he's like, "Oh dear God!" Yeah. It is my favorite King of Queens episode. The Let's Get It On. But anyway, be that as it may.
Kevin is Doug. Number 5.
Doug Heffernan. Is that right?
1991. Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
That's number 5
on the list.
I get it.
It moved up 4 spots.
And again, it's not a great song. I take that back. It is a great song. It changed music.
Yes.
I wouldn't say it's the 5th best song of all time, but it was a great. It's the best grunge song of all time, without a doubt.
Yes. Number 4, 1965. The 3rd repeat. Bob Dylan, Like a Rolling Stone. So Like a Rolling Stone drops from 1 to 4.
I mean, I know this doesn't matter. It didn't even go to number 1 when it was out. It was number 2. It's okay. Okay. It's because it's Rolling Stone magazine that's. If it was like a Newsweek, there's no way it'd be number 4.
Okay. Number 3, 1964. Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come.
Sam Cooke. Wow, he was one of the subjects of that A Night in Miami.
Miami, yes.
Was it?
This is the song at the end of the movie.
Wasn't he? He was killed by someone. Wasn't he having an affair? Someone's husband shot him.
I don't know. I don't know how Sam Cooke.
He died a very. Okay. Yeah, one of those.
I actually, this would be very close. Like, this is certain. Like, if you and I sat down and made our list, A Change Is Gonna Come is probably in my like top 20, top 25. Like, it's up there. I'm very pleased that it cracked the top 10. Number 2, 1989. Public Enemy, Fight the Power.
Really?
Really. No comment?
The second best song in the history of music is by Flava Flav.
Public Enemy, Fight the Power.
This was a bad idea.
And number one, 1967. This is the other repeat.
Hey Jude.
It moved up 4 spots to number 1.
Oh, moved up 4 spots. Oh, Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin, Respect. Number 1 song, according to Rolling Stone's greatest 500 songs ever list.
So we're just going to go over this. And I get the whole song. You can have one hit one. I mean, if you want to do it that way, the Macarena could be up there in the top 10. We have Outcast.
Mm-hmm.
And you have.
Just looking at the artist.
And you don't have Michael Jackson?
Just looking at the
artist. You don't have Elvis?
Just looking at the artist. Outcast, Fleetwood Mac, Missy Elliott, The Beatles, Marvin Gaye, Nirvana, Bob Dylan, Sam Cooke, Public Enemy, Aretha Franklin. But remember, it's not about the artist. It's about the song.
Stairway to Heaven is not better than...
I think for you it is. There's certainly songs on here that there's going to be some stuff on here that I don't necessarily listen to, or it's not in my top 20, but I understand the value to the culture. I understand the play rate. I understand its growth in culture through the years. Like A Change Is Gonna Come would not have made it in 2018. In 2021, its value is significantly higher. You don't think?
I mean, I would make the argument that of a pure of the classic rock and roll era.
This isn't a rock and roll list.
But it is.
But it's not.
What is it?
It's music. And rock and roll is a genre of music.
Well, I mean, if you're going to take all music forever, then Silent Night should be in the list.
But don't you think?
Because Silent Night's one of the best 10 songs ever written. But
you think so?
Yes.
You think Silent Night is one of the best 10 songs ever written?
Yes, absolutely. But of the classic rock, you know what's better than any Fleetwood Mac song? Is Dream On by Aerosmith. Without a shadow of a doubt.
I don't disagree with that. I would probably put Dream On above Dreams by Fleetwood Mac.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know what else I'd put it above?
What?
Big Pimpin'. by Jay-Z.
Well, Big Pimpin' didn't crack the top 10. So if you want to see the full list, you can go to Rolling Stone.
You know what I don't want to see right now? I would just get angrier and angrier.
What is the song, like, I mean, obviously don't take too much time, but what is the song that, like, give me 2 or 3 songs that you're like, you can't believe it wouldn't make the top 10? Like, do you have like a hard
when
set?
I hear those, as I just think of things, and this is weird, because I can't believe the most popular Beatles song isn't Let It Be. To me, Let It Be is the best Beatles song. So the fact that Strawberry Fields Forever is there is just mind-blowing to me. I can't believe, I guess Michael Jackson's best song is Billie Jean. So I maybe Billie Jean's not that big, even though Michael Jackson was that big. I can't believe, like, for example, Sinatra's not, My Way isn't there by Sinatra.
So you literally, sometimes I let you talk too long. My pick was going to be Frank Sinatra, My Way. But again, this is what I would say. I am, like, as a white male, not like Frank Sinatra, My Way is perfection. Like it's everything that I want in a song, the crescendo up. Like it is literally what I want in a music title. And so, but again, I also understand, like, I am unique in the sense that, like, because I'm a white male, that song maybe means more to me than A Change Is Gonna Come, than Fight the Power, than Smells Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it depends on who you are and what your affinity is, and your experiences through life are going to dictate how important some of these songs are.
And I get that. I mean, if we're going all of music, isn't Beethoven's Ode to Joy one of the 10 best ever?
Then it was.
Well, then, because there were only 20 songs.
That's what I'm saying.
Even now, you don't think the Ode to Joy is better than Outcast?
No.
Really?
No, not when you think about what it did and how it made people move.
It's in every wedding that's ever happened.
I understand. Listen, but that's.
But you're saying 50% of the weddings don't last anyway.
That's just just an antiquated, like, we've done this before, so we're going to do it again.
I mean, I would look at like Born to Run from Springsteen. I think has to be in consideration. I think it's iconic as all get out.
Okay. I think, again, I guess the thing you have to sit down is there's obviously a musical side that we can debate, right? So, like, when I think of Frank Sinatra, My Way, like, I just think of, like, how it starts off and it crescendos up and just, like, the message behind it. So there is a lyricism and there's a musical production to it that, like, I just think is right. Okay. However, that can't be the only thing you're measuring this stuff on. Like, there has to be, like, cultural value. There has to be movement behind it. I'm sure there's an analytics of, like, charts and plays and streams and all this. So when you add it all up, all I'm saying is there's going to be very few songs that fall into every single one of those things. And when you look at this list, that's kind of how these songs got there. Like, they all kind of fit nicely into those 3, 4, 5 categories of debate.
I guess. I just, like, Suspicious Minds from Elvis has to be a better song than Dreams from Fleetwood Mac. And I like Fleetwood Mac. I've seen Fleetwood Mac in concert. In the history of rock and roll, you're going to tell me Dreams by Fleetwood Mac has had more importance and influence and plays and all this stuff than Suspicious Minds?
But this is the funny thing, is I think in the last 10 years, I think Fleetwood Mac does significantly better than a lot of the bands and the people that you're gonna compare.
Because the people that grew up with them are dead.
I understand that, but so I'm just saying. So, like,
all the people that grew up listening to Beethoven are.
But I still, like, even in the last, like, 5 to 10 years, I still struggle to, like, put Fleetwood Mac on a pedestal. Like, there are people, like, who think Fleetwood Mac belongs on, like, this tier that I just disagree. Like, I think they're very, very, very good, but I would never. But, like, for a lot of people in the last, like, there are people younger than me that, like, they think Fleetwood Mac is, like, that, like, it is, like, that's the thing. Like, Fleetwood Mac is dope. Like, it's funny.
Well, I mean, they're really good, and the story that goes along with them, the saga that goes along with them is. But I don't know. I would have to make a list, and my list, and this is in all fairness, my list would be very white, very rock and roll. Even of the play, like, I'm trying to think, would Prince be? I don't know. I'm trying. Is Purple Rain? I would think Purple Rain's his best song. Where does Purple Rain rank? It would be fun to look through the list, and I'd hate looking through it. I might have to actually buy the magazine. Do they still print the magazine?
Right.
Because you had to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it was
there's also gonna be like, you and I had just had this conversation based strictly on music, and I'm sure that there are people who were affected by societal issues and whether or not, like, where their ranking fell and what happened. Like, I'm sure there are Michael Jackson songs that are lower than what they would have been given what's come out in the last 5 to 10 years. I'm sure there are Eminem songs. I'm not saying Eminem should have been in the top 10, but I have no doubt that there are Eminem songs that didn't make the list or were way lower on the list than what they would have been if Eminem wasn't so polarizing, right? And I bet you even, like, if you go, even Elvis Presley, like, I bet you Presley's songs are probably a little lower just because of the idea of how he stole black culture to try to make his music and take himself. Like, those things, when people are deciding and voting on this stuff, like, those things play into it.
So how about this? You want to talk about a song that is kind of timeless and changed the. How about Friends in Low Places?
Yeah, I love Friends in Low Places. So what's your question? I didn't really understand.
Doesn't that have to be? I wonder where that
doesn't that have to be up there? Like a Garth? Yeah, I think there's a Garth Brooks song. I mean, the problem is country almost has the exact opposite problem of rock and roll, where people think rock and roll fans think rock and roll is music. But the weird part with country is, like, country's almost seen as something completely separate. Like, country almost isn't even seen as, like, in this plethora of, like, pop and everything else we just talked about. Like, rock and roll still gets to be discussed with pop, and it still gets to be, like, country, for whatever reason, almost gets dismissed from those conversations.
I get it.
It's much more likely that you're going to walk in here and we're going to debate a Jay-Z song compared to Joan Jett than it is you're going to walk in here and try to explain to me why a Garth Brooks song was as good as, like, country just kind of gets separated.
I get what you're saying. I mean, I'm looking at when I'm thinking of the 70s, and like, I would think Freebird from Lynyrd Skynyrd is, I'm thinking Hotel California from the Eagles. Like, these are just ones that are coming to mind as, yeah. And as we talk about, like, what Nirvana did for grunge, like what about something from Black Sabbath, which changed music in its own right?
I think Smells Like Teen Spirit deserves to be on this list. What I would say is that it's almost like a shooting star through the sky. Like, it just hit at the right time, and then it was out. And the crazy part about a shooting star is, like, you don't get to judge it. Like, a shooting star is great because it was like, oh my gosh, did you see that? And it doesn't stick around long enough for you to, like, really say, like, well, you know what, it's actually not that bright. Like, it's, you know what, like. And that was Nirvana and Smells Like Teen Spirit. Like, grunge was here and it was out, and so it just kind of holds its place. And to me, Smells Like Teen Spirit is the definition of that placeholder. So I get why it's stayed in the top 10 for 25 years.
And Stairway to Heaven didn't.
I don't know. I think
Stairway to Heaven is you're not guilty of, is being hurt by it being overplayed.
100%.
But that doesn't make it, you know, that's like saying, you know, Michael Jordan's not the greatest basketball player in the world, because for the last 30 years, everyone's been saying Michael Jordan's not the greatest.
But there's people who think that. So
who think what?
That think Michael Jordan's not the greatest player in the world.
Well, those people are wrong. So that's why we don't listen to those people.
Out of this top 10, there's really only one. Well, Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles, I would debate with you. I think I'm on your side.
That's not their best song.
But the only one is Missy Elliott, Get Your Freak On. And the only reason is, like I said, if this was a music video list, it might be top 3.
I don't even know the song.
It might be top 5. But because it's a song list, like, I don't know. I just don't think it belongs there. I really, really don't. How about the other one of it too? And I've talked about, like, I'm an R&B fan. Like, R&B is vastly not represented on this list as much as it probably should be.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Ray Charles came off. Stevie Wonder's not on. Michael Jackson's not there. Prince isn't there. That the fact that Michael Jackson and Elvis aren't there. And again, I know you say it's about a song. It's not about a career. So wait, the Rolling Stones don't have an entry in this one? Satisfaction fell all the way out?
Yeah, Satisfaction's not in the top 10 anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they did this list. There's no Zeppelin. There's no Stones. There's no Elvis.
Well, no.
There's no Michael Jackson.
In the top 10.
Correct.
They're on the list. They're in the 500. They're just not on the top 10. All right, final word, because we got to go.
I'm upset.
All right. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show and Pop Culture Thursday. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news. That was not expecting that. You got me off guard. That was good.
I'll be better by tomorrow.
Okay. That's it. You'll get over it faster than the Cowboys?
We just got screwed. But how about Brett? By the way, my boy Brett Gardner with a big 2-out bloop single to win it for the Yankees. They're hanging tough.
Okay. Last thing before we go, Heather hooked you up. The Stones' "Gimme Shelter" is 13. Does that make you feel any better? Is society going to be okay?
No, society's a mess, regardless of this list. But this is just a microcosm of society right now. The list is a mess. Society's a mess. I
got you. Thanks for watching the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina, and we will be back tomorrow.